Hitler's coming. Someone in this family needs to fight him.
First broken nail, she's out of here.
You should see the girls that work the factory floor. They actually make something that matters.
You think the rules don't apply to you?
I'm the same as any other woman here. What am I supposed to do? Just sit back while the rest of the world fights?
They don't need you.
The boys need our help.
Bomb Girls, series premiere, Wednesday, January 4th on Global.
Go get him.
Meg, thank you very much for taking the time out to talk to us.
Oh, no worries. You know, you guys have been such supporters of the show. It's very sweet. I like reading your articles on the girls.
And look at that, 30 seconds right there. Yeah, yeah. We were just wondering how long it would take the next Bomb Girls cast member we interviewed to make me blush. So there we go, 30 seconds, nicely done.
That's the record.
Wow, because it just boggles my mind that people are reading it. I write it because I feel it, and it just blows me away that people are actually reading it. Thank you.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah.
It's kind of nice because it's like I like reading about the girls and what they're doing and what people are saying because you know they feel kind of like little chickadees. So
Yeah.
And they've all been adorable so far. It's just
Wait till you
amazing.
hear our interview with Charlotte tomorrow when it goes up, because she was the only one we got to see in person. And she was
really?
just
Yeah.
adorable. She was so nervous at first, and then by the end of it, she was okay.
Oh, good. Yes, yeah. We're working on, you know, for her, because, you know, if you've never done stuff, I remember when I first started, it was really terrifying, and then it's like, oh, why is it so scary? Because you're just talking.
Yeah.
People, like, you're just talking to people, and some people will like you, and some people won't, and that's the way of the world, and do you know what I mean? It seems like this big, mysterious thing, I think, when you're younger. And,
Yeah.
And then I think you start, at least, I don't know, for me it did. And then as one gets older, one just starts seeing people, like, you know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
them and me or whatever. It's just us, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
And we were nervous when we first started talking to people,
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think, well, because the first person we interviewed was in a pub over a beer, so it ended up just being a lot more casual by the end of it.
Right.
But it's
Yeah, well, it's nice when you can see people's faces because
Yes.
then you get more of a sense of them and you know, a feeling of what's coming from. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I like seeing people's faces, but over the phone you get a different kind of sense of people. So.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah. We like to start it really simple, or what we like to think is simple, but apparently is really tough. Your all-time favorite movies.
Oh, my all-time favorite movie?
Yeah.
Oh, that's easy. My all-time favorite movie is My Fair Lady with Audrey Hepburn.
Oh,
good girl.
Nice. That's brilliant, because now I'm going to be thinking, I could have danced all night in my head now.
We didn't get to see very many movies growing up, and I imagine a lot of people's all-time favorite movies comes perhaps in their formative years.
Yes.
But,
Oh, yeah.
We got to see that, and it was magic to me seeing her as this kind of dirty, scruffy ragamuffin who, you know, and then she became this fine lady, and it was really pivotal in all us Tilly girls' lives because we decided that if she could do it, we could do it too, and Jenny started giving us fine lady lessons. And,
That's awesome.
walking with books on our head. I mean, we had, over the summer, we had fine lady lessons pretty much every day for a good portion of the day because we didn't have TV, and we had put the marbles in the mouth, and we had practiced fainting, and we had practiced eating like fine ladies. Of course, our idea of fine ladies was very different from perhaps how real fine ladies eat, because fine ladies, as far as we were concerned, they dealt after each bite, they went, they sucked with each fingertip, like very delicately, like that, each one, and then went, right? And one of my sisters didn't quite have it down, and she'd suck her fingers all the way up to the second knuckle. Fine lady. You know, there was all these different things. Fine ladies always left a little bit of food on their plate. You know, no matter how hungry they were, it didn't matter, you know. And so that was my favorite movie of all time, and probably still is. There was just something about it that seemed magic, that seemed like, I don't know, a message in a bottle.
Yeah.
And we took it very seriously, and we got the record, which wasn't actually, it was a different record, but it still had all the words and the songs. It might have been the Broadway record, I don't know, but we learned all the words and we sang all the songs, and it was nominated for the Academy Award, the big, huge treat for me was, I mean, it was a whole room full of people sitting there, but up on stage, Audrey Hepburn was presenting.
Oh.
And I thought I was going to die. I was close enough that if I ran real quick, I could have flung my arms around her legs and touched her. it was
Before
really
security
magical
can
for me
stop
to see
you?
her in person.
Oh, that's awesome. So I'm not the only one who's had those thoughts then.
That's good. I mean, Esther Williams was there because they were having a lot of the, movie stars from that time where we actually got to see some of those movies because we didn't get to go see the modern ones.
Mm-hmm.
And she was there as well. But Audrey Hepburn was really like just the bee's knees for me.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. That is like the best answer we've gotten on that. I love that. Now, you did step away from making, movies and TV series for a while when you moved back to BC. Now, what brought you back?
What brought me back is all my kids grew up, and my youngest boy left home, and, I had just been, mom, like raising kids for, that was my focus. That was my drive. Even once I had children, my drive, even in my acting, changed. It became about paying the bills, about being away from them as little amount as possible. So I chose projects in a different way than I would have. Everything was geared towards keeping them safe, fed, and as happy as I could, which one doesn't really have control over, but one does the best one can. And then my youngest left home. So the first one left home, and that was a shock, because then I realized, well, if she leaves, then that means the other two will eventually do it. But I kept pushing it down, and then the second one did, and then it was like, okay, but there was so much to do with Will, and, there was still, you had to get up at 6:30 in the morning and make the hot breakfast, and there was lunches, and there was driving to, play rehearsals and friends and all of that, and teaching him how to drive, and then he was gone. And it was like I'd been picked up by a tornado and set down 26 years later, and I thought that it wasn't going to be a big deal because I thought, I'm busy and I have my writing and I have a few friends but a lot of my friends are scattered around the world. They aren't. The work that one does, one met people from different places, and I was really lonely, and I didn't realize just how much my social life was revolved around my kids' schedules. And you don't really need to have a social life. You just weren't lonely.
Yeah.
Just tumbling in and out, eating food, and your concerns, and it was very challenging. And which is like, really? Because wouldn't you be happy? Like, I could take as long a bath as I want. For a while after they, once they got out of, when they got to full-time school, you could, but it was different. And I knew who I had been. I knew who I was when I was raising my kids, but who was I with grown kids gone? And it was. I mean, my husband was working on a deadline on his book, so he was very, very busy, and it was really quiet and really. I was like, it was kind of lonely, and we moved because we're like, okay, well, we don't need this big old place now. So I didn't know anybody in the community that we had moved to, and it was really lonely. And I started kind of thinking about things, and for around a year and a half, it was kind of like, well, what? And after the year, I'm like, okay, so where we moved doesn't work. So we moved back to community where we knew some people, because it's very nice to look at the ocean kind of lapping at your door, but that only works for a certain amount of time,
This is
and
true.
then you wish there were people knocking at your door. So we moved back to community where we had friends, and then I got that bracelet from my sister, and which was kind of a prompt, and I did the play, and then I did the thing. I didn't know I was a year like this time last year. I didn't know. I knew that the bracelet had sparked something in me, but I certainly didn't know I was going to get a play. I knew I wanted to do a play, but I didn't know I was going to get a play, and I certainly didn't know that I was going to do a TV show.
Wow.
I know, it's weird, huh?
Life,
In a best way.
yeah, but that's how life works. That's just
That's how life works. It can turn you upside down on your ear in a year. Like it was, I think it was February 7th. Was when Jenny and I went off, or 6 or something like that. We were off on a weekend at a spa, and that's when I told her of this kind of embarrassing secret desire that her bracelet had started in me, and that's when she's like, "All right, you build it, they'll come," and got me a contact for an agent, and then everything just kind of took off. Like, it's like, okay, you pushed that little tiny snowball off the top of the mountain, thinking, what'll happen if I do this? And now it's a huge, thundering, huge mass snowball, and you're in the middle of it, like those cartoon characters with my arms and legs sticking out, going woof, woof, woof. And I just like tumble down the hill, and it gets bigger and bigger, and it takes on more momentum. And it's kind of fun, but you don't know if it's going to smash at the bottom, or if it's going to, roll to a gentle stop, or if you're going to disengage yourself from the snowball and walk away and go back to your, quiet little book writing. You just don't know.
Go back up to the top of the hill and roll down again.
They go, that was fun. Let's do it again.
Now, in the terms of getting cast in Bomb Girls, did you have to submit an audition? Did they approach you knowing that they wanted you for Lorna? How did that work out?
Okay, so that was interesting because I was doing the play. I was doing Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and I was in the throes of Martha. So when my agent, when Rich Kaplan had approached me about he sent me the thing, he said he's been talking to them. They're interested, but I haven't done anything in so long, so they'd have to see me. And I wasn't really thinking of doing. Well, I wasn't thinking of doing a series. I mean, every once in a while, if something got sent to me after I'd said yes, when I signed on, I had thought, well, I'll make the noises. But I really didn't think. First off, I didn't think anybody would, because I'd been out of it for so long that I didn't have TV, whatever it's called. And secondly, it wasn't like I needed to work to earn money, which is why I hadn't done plays for so long. But plays, you don't get paid anything, but it was something that I'd always wanted to do. So I really wasn't planning on it, but I did agree that I would meet if there was something interesting-ish, and so that's what I would do. And I said I would do. So when he just said that, I said, well, I don't know. And he goes, I said, what if, the people aren't, and he goes, no, the people are really nice. They're really nice, very talented. So I said, well, I can meet on it after I do. I said, no, then I said, I'm doing the play. I'm too busy. And then he said, well, they'll meet you after the play's over.
Wow.
So I said, okay, because I couldn't really seem ungrateful, and I was kind of pretending that he was going to get commission on something other than the $500 he gets for the play. So I said, okay. And then 3 days after I finished, we closed Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. I took the ferry over to Vancouver. My husband drove. We kind of made a road trip of it and had, junk food, road trip food in the car. So, penny candy and salt and vinegar potato chips and things like that. And we arrive, and I go in, and I'm really thinking that I'm doing this so Rich will be happy that I'm his client and that I'm not just going to do plays, but I hadn't planned on doing it. And then I met Adrienne. She really blew me away with her insights into the character, into the thing, and her passion. The way she directed was very, very specific, and it's very rare to come across someone who is so specific and so clear about what they want that it's for me, that's my dream kind of director. It's a joy. And I thought, I just knew. I thought as I walked out, I had so much fun in the reading. I was there for maybe, 25 minutes. We did a few things a few times, and then she would give a little tweak, and then I'd do it. And we both were getting excited, because it was really fun. It was like a pleasure to do. That if they hadn't wanted me, that would have been fine. I would have been happy that I got the chance to come to Vancouver and play, because that's what it's like when you're working with somebody where you're really in tune with them. It's like, I understood. I mean, Lorna was fine, but I did a little bit of work on her. I had a couple days to read over the scene stuff, but I didn't really realize the layers. And I had a lot of layers, but I didn't have all those layers until I worked with Adrienne Mitchell, who's one of the creators of the show and showrunner, executive producer. And so all of a sudden, I saw all the things that I hadn't seen when I just read the script through fast. And so I got in the car, my husband was there, and he goes, how was it? And I said, if they want me to do it, I'm going to do it. I said, she was great. And my husband was really excited. He goes, really? All the way over, I'm like, nah, I don't want to do a TV show. Don't tell Rich, but
Pass the
I don't want to do
chips.
it. And then I was like, hey. And so then, the next day Rich called and said, they want you. And I was like,
Wow.
Wow.
yay! It's like for a miniseries, so it's 2.5 months, and so that's good. But the only thing is that then he said, well, that if they decide to, they can extend it to a series. But by that time, I was already so charmed by Adrian.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care. What's the big deal? So what? Because I just felt like I could learn something. And when you've done whatever you do, whether it's acting or writing, and you find somebody that you think you can learn and grow from as an artist, then who cares? That's what life's about, is learning and growing. And so I would have said yes pretty much to anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Talking about Lorna, she's a really strong female character in a time when women were basically second-class citizens. So what was it like walking in her shoes?
Well, I came from, like, Martha, and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, is very strong in another way. She's like all, everything out there. She's just but she's wild, and she's also very vulnerable and like so fragile, which is why I think her husband puts up with so much, because he knows how fragile she is. But he also goads her. It's like their whole relationship. But she's all like out there, and then Lorna is kind of the reverse. She's all like so inside. Martha's very like small and lost. Lorna is all this underneath, but she's it's all contained. It's all like trying to do right. Now she doesn't know what right is all the time. I mean, from Meg's point of view, but when she, you know what I mean? But she is trying to walk the road that she believes is right, and with as much integrity and strength as she can. And she's been dealt a really hard blow. I mean, the situation with her husband, having her children, there's things that are similar. Her boys having left home, and not only have they left home, but they're overseas. So she's got that. My children are away, and I worry about them, but to have them overseas facing death every day is terrifying. And I think that I think that is part of the reason why she's so, in a way, dogmatic and so narrow-minded in terms of Marco, the Italian situation, in the beginning, her prejudice is because anything that she can do to keep her boys safe, and she is in that hypervigilance that, if someone's a parent, like for me, if one of my children, cried, it started to in the middle of the night, even in my sleep, I would hear them be up and racing down the hall to get them before they got into full wail. It's that kind of super vigilance that if she is careful enough, if she makes sure the factory's secure enough, if she works hard enough, if she sacrifices enough, it will bring her children home safe. And she's strong. She's very strong, but she's living a life of quiet desperation. She's so alone. And I think it was easier when her boys were home, and they might, pull her in for a hug and, oh, Mom, but they're gone now. And a mother-daughter, the physical relationship, when they get to be young women, is different. There's love, but it's more, they need their own physical space much more from their mother. And then her husband, it's almost, to her, it feels like it's almost like he's repulsed by her, that he looks at her and always is finding her lacking, her food lacking, what she's doing lacking. You get to see more sides of him and their relationship. But I think she's lost sight of her. I think she doesn't even know who she Lorna is, or that she has a right to any longings or feelings or emotions other than duty, because she's been his caretaker for so long. She's been supporting the family, which is very hard for a woman in those days when you didn't have benefits from, if you had children, and you didn't have, there wasn't a safety net, and it's been scary, and she can't be scared because she's the one who's holding it all together. So that's how she's become a bit more dogmatic.
Wow.
I wish you could see us right now, because we're just enjoying listening to you so much, and your insights are blowing us away at the moment.
Yeah,
I love Lorna. I love her, and I feel feel for her, and I get worried for her, and part of me is like, oh, there's rumors. Are they going to? Aren't they going to? Is it going to be season 2? And part of me is like wants to know, and part of me is like. I get so worried for her when I was playing her and when we were shooting, and then I'd get a new script and I'd be like, oh no, you gotta be kidding me, come on. And sometimes I'd be like, Michael, or sometimes it'd be who's the writer, or I'd be, Lorna, no, I'm sorry, this is just not okay. And then I'd find out all the reasons why in my head. I'd figure out the whys and the whats and the hows, and then it became clear that there was nothing else at that particular point in her life that she could do or would do, or you know what I mean, because that's just what circumstances led to. So you don't know. Sometimes you don't know. It's like, if you have a friend that you love enormously, and you want to be there for them, but at the same time they're going through challenging times and are kind of lost. You want to be there for them, and you love them, and you love the time that you spend together with them where there isn't bullshit, where you talk about real things, where you feel real things. But sometimes, too, it can be almost overwhelming if there's a situation where there's grief or sorrow or betrayal or even extreme joy. Sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming, and that's what it's like sometimes when you're playing certain characters that have challenges to go through or a lot of joys or a lot of pains as you worry about them, and sometimes you can feel a little like, oh honey, like worrying, like where you wake up worrying about them.
Aww.
Wow. It's funny because in that you completely answered my next question, but I totally have to mention it anyway,
Okay.
because no, it's fantastic. It's in episode 4, the kite flying sequence at the end of the episode
Right.
has to be one of my favorite moments for Lorna and Bob, because you can tell at the beginning of the scene they're kind of grating on one another, but then
Right.
towards the end of it,
Yeah.
and my favorite moment for you is when you fall into the leaves. I'm like, that's just amazing. That she looks fantastic, and Sue and I were talking earlier in the day in the fact that yes, she loves Bob,
Yeah.
and yes, she has a romantic dalliance with Marco, but you can't judge her harshly for it, because there's something in your performance which totally allows everyone to empathize with where Lorna is. They don't judge her for her actions. They feel sorry for her. It's an amazing performance.
Yeah, because it's such a complicated circumstance. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And the loneliness and the isolation in some ways. But she does love Bob. I mean, they have this whole history together. But she doesn't feel seen by Bob.
Yeah.
She doesn't feel seen by herself. And I think that it wasn't anything, I don't think, that was planned. But there's also something about being a woman in your early 40s. There's a physical thing that goes on. Same thing like it does with teenagers, There's this physical thing going on because it's right before you head into the perimenopause, menopause, where it's kind of last call at the bar in terms of your biological. And I found when I was that age, because she's a bit younger than me, that all of a sudden I was looking, it was like you just see the world different. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Babies look at you like, have one of me, and you're walking around the world and everything seems like a phallic symbol, and you're like, what the heck? What is going on? It's kind of like it's interesting. It's an interesting time of life, but for her, it's like it's such a mix. Her life's such a mix.
Now, when you were shooting, did you have any idea? Did you know when you were shooting it that this was something special, that it was something vital that would touch so many, not only Canadian viewers, but I'm thinking down the road, international viewers when they get to look at it as well. I mean, it's a fantastic story.
That particular scene or the whole show?
The whole show.
I felt it was special for me. I don't have. See, the thing is, the challenge is when you're working on something, you can give your whole heart, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to come across, and it doesn't necessarily mean that people will embrace it. So there's been some things where I've given my whole heart, and it's been an absolute flop. And there's been other things where, you give your whole. I mean, I always try to do my whole. Everything, give everything to whatever character, because I feel a real responsibility to my characters. But where people don't think it's going to be that particularly good of a show, and it turns out being a huge success. And so you don't know. All you know is that if you've given it your everything. And I felt with this show, show, it felt special to me because it felt like everybody was doing that. Like
Yeah.
everybody. It's like the entire crew was amazing. You know, Eric Kala, who does the lighting, is so talented. Every single person was involved, heart and soul, in creating the bomb factory, in creating this world, in creating these girls, the wardrobe. I mean, Joanne did an amazing job with the wardrobe, you know, trying to get the props from that period, trying to recreate, you know, the whole, the writing. Everybody was so creative right down to the camera. I mean, the camera guys who did, like, one of the camera operators came to me one day, and, you know, he also took directing and stuff like that, and just said the most wonderful, sweet things about, you know, the show, about Lorna, about working together. I remember there were times when you'd finish a scene, and you'd see, like, grips wiping their faces, and you'd be like, oh my God, like, lots of times, you know, people don't care. They're just, if they hit the mark and the camera's in focus, and you know, then it's like kind of what's for coffee, you know, what's going to be at the craft service table. It just wasn't like that on the set. It was really, it was a real special experience, and really, I felt carried by the efforts of every single person who worked there. Everybody had such a sense of pride. The posters that they put on the wall, the details that the art department did with the set just carried us. So, you know, we're in front of the camera, the cast, and we're the ones who people interview, and we're the ones, but really, to me, the stars of the show are the people who created the sets and the wardrobe, and we filled it, but they gave us the container with which to do that. So it really was, I think, a labor of love for many, many people. And, you know, it's a little Canadian show with a little Canadian budget, and they made it look like it had all the money they needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There
yes.
was, they did an amazing, amazing job.
They really did.
And I just felt proud to be a part of it. Whether it was going to touch people or not, I didn't know. I mean, you still don't know. You don't know, you know, I don't know what the outcome is. I don't know if they're, you know, what's going to happen. But I do know that I'm really proud to have been a part of it, and it goes up there in my, you know, top happy experiences on a set. For sure.
Nice.
In that little kind of clique of a few handful of shows where you really feel lucky and happy to go to work every day.
That's brilliant. Now, we've spoken to Jody, we've spoken to Charlotte, and we've spoken to Adelaide. And they all said what an amazing experience they had working with you, and that they all have, like, fantastic memories of you now. What were your impressions of the three of them?
I just loved all the girls, you know, and the one who plays Vera is such a good actress,
Yes.
and the one who plays Hazel. And they were just this group of young women, and it was so beautiful to see, because the nice thing is they all worked really hard. They all, it wasn't like you know, little on the set or things like that. Everybody really was big heart in terms of wanting to do good work and and that was really wonderful to see. And they would have, you know, things where they would go out together and as a group, and, you know, helped each other with boyfriend talk, or, you know, life talk. And some of the moms came, and I was walking a delicate balance, because I adored them so much, but at the same time I'm like, oh, you know, I am old enough to be their mother, and, you know, even older than that. And so I didn't want to, like, barge in. So I was trying to be there, but not overwhelm, or, you know what I mean?
I do, yeah.
Because they would invite me along, but you know, then sometimes I would, and sometimes I wouldn't, because I wasn't quite sure. I felt like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
you know, it's like kind of when I was doing the Big Chill, and I was the youngest person in the group, and they were all, you know, in the decade above me, and it was a little bit like, so happy to be included, but just slightly different too, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know that experience
adored
well.
them. And it's interesting, because we're at different phases, right?
Yes, yeah.
They're all career building. It was a balm. It was a balm for me, Meg, the mother Meg, whose children have all left home, and off with their busy lives. And these were all young women who've left home and off with their busy lives. But part of their busy lives included me. I don't know, an amazing, felt like an amazing gift, really, an amazing gift and I could see parts of me reflected back from when I was younger, and and try to tell them things to watch out for, which were things that caught me by surprise, and it gave them probably more advice than they wanted. but I tried to temper it so I didn't, overwhelm.
Now, sliding.
Not advice on their acting, because they know exactly what they want to do and where they want to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I think the most that any would ever be is just me being there and them being there and both of us being in the scene. But no, definitely it was more like the outside things that come with acting that I didn't know would happen.
Right.
Interviews, things like that. Simple little things like quickly make sure you get your name, because domain names, people buy your name.
Yes.
You can't have a Twitter that says Meg Tilly. You can't have a website that's megtilly.com, because it's been bought years ago.
Yeah.
Little things like that.
But you do have your own website, though. You've got a little blog going.
I do, but it's I had to do officialmegtilly.com because somebody had bought megtilly.com.
Wow.
And I was like, how can you buy my name? Like, how can you, like, why would somebody do that? And then they wanted, I can't remember, $10,000 or something. And I thought, that's just not right. I have to pay to use my own name.
It is my name.
I know. It's like, are you kidding me? And so then I'm like, well, no, forget it. I'll just use someone else. So then whoever the person was, got mad. So then they hoped that MegTilly.com went to naked pictures that were illegally taken out of snips of movies that I'd been in.
Oh, man.
So Meg Tilly naked from MegTilly.com, which would be the first thing my kids or any of their friends would get to.
Wow.
So that was really bad. And when I first did my website, because who's going to look for officialmegtilly.com, I was on page 28 of Meg Tilly. So
Wow.
I went through 28 pages to find my website. I mean, who? And, I wasn't even going to do that, but then somebody said, oh, no, you have books. My friend Ken and my daughter, Emily, they talked me into it. But who knew, right? I didn't know. I was rarely on the Internet. I just learned how to email my kids when they left home for college. That was it.
That's
but I'm
awesome.
very, I write on a computer, but I'm not really electronically astute.
But we have to say, because Sue found it first, that your blog is fantastic. I mean, we were talking about it just this afternoon. It's so open and it's so honest about everything.
Yeah.
And your post from yesterday, I was at work and I was close to tears.
Yeah, you know what? I like having a blog, but I pulled back for a long time because I was writing every day. And, I was getting zillions of hits because I was writing every day, but I wasn't writing. I stopped writing. Like, I stopped writing other than my blog.
Right, yeah.
I was trying to write. I was going into my writing room, but then it would be so much more fun to blog because you never know where it's gonna end up. Like the one I did the other day, I was just gonna, just found out from the woman who tweeted me that everybody wasn't getting spam, and I was so relieved about that because I'd been feeling guilty about it, and then somehow it went off on this tangent, and I ended up writing about my friend, and I didn't expect to, but once you're in, you kind of just ride the horse. It's sort of like you ride the horse till it decides to turn back to the stables. But that's the fun thing about blogs, but also the scary thing is you never know where it's going to lead to. And then you're always like, whoa, I probably shouldn't post that. What the hell? Okay, so people might think I'm a really bad person, but oh well. They'll be more forgiving of themselves when they do something that perhaps they're whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Well, it
So
just...
it was actually, I found that the blog's been really wonderful because before the blog, people had an idea of me that was kind of locked in a time warp, and with whatever they imagined when they saw my films when I was younger as to who I was. And so I had maybe some people more obsessed with me, but it wasn't me.
Right, it was the
I
image of you, yeah.
Threw all of those fantasies out the window way back when I first started blogging, and I wrote about going to a book thing and waiting until the last minute to put an outfit together, and realizing that I'd gained a bit, and none of my pants, my fancy pants, fit. So I was attaching them with a piece of elastic and a safety pin, and underneath my long shirt. And I'm sure that was not the image that they had of me. And it's really it's really helped a lot, because I found when I went on book tour and things like that, a lot of the readers had visited my blog, and so you get approached in a very different way. You get approached more as a friend than as a monkey in the zoo.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. I mean, just reading, I kind of browsed through some of the archives and read like the selected articles here and there with the intention of going back and reading as many of them as I can. But it was just.
Good luck with that. As I said, there was around a year there where I blogged every day.
Awesome. Well, see, but that's our goal too. We want to put a post up every day, so I kind of empathize with that. But it's just, it is. It's like you're talking to a friend. It's like It's really intimate, and it's so honest. I mean, it's a brilliant blog, and we're.
Well, you know what? I think the thing is that I spent the first part of my life trying to match the yardstick of what I thought a woman was supposed to be, or how a woman was supposed to feel, or how a woman was supposed to. And then all of a sudden, it's like, who wrote these rules, and why am I following them? And then I thought, wait a minute, I'm part of like media or society might hold me up as a yardstick, as this is what a woman is, supposed to or not supposed to, or, oh, she's had all this fabulousness or whatever. No, it's just a human person fumbling through life and sometimes getting things right and sometimes screwing up royally. And so I figured it, in a way, to write about one's own humanness allows other people to examine their own humanness and be hopefully more gentle with themselves, and see a common thread in everybody, really,
Yeah, I practically have conversations with your blog when I read it, because it is almost conversational, where I just want to respond to you somehow. I just go, no, now let's look at it this way.
I know.
And then I tweet you and go, well, I'll talk to you tonight.
I write about it. Or sometimes I might feel a certain way about it, and then I write about it, and I realize, no, actually, I feel different. Or I might not even realize what something was until after I've written it. And then it's stuck with me, and it's sort of like a hangnail that keeps snagging on things. It needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, even when you started in about guilt in that last blog from last night, you didn't end up at all where I thought you were going, but the whole first part of it, I was like, yes, exactly. Why do we carry around so much guilt, Meg?
I know.
How do you know this about me?
Well, that's what it started out to be.
I was like, I'm on the exact same page.
So with me too. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes not so much. Late at night when my husband wants to sleep and he thinks we're just going to talk about how delicious that pear was.
No.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden we're talking about the meaning of life.
So much for a grain of sand. It's all in a pear now.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Now, to kind of bring it back around. No, it's brilliant. I love it. This is. After the success of Bomb Girls, because let's face it, it is a huge success. Are we going to see you in front of the camera more now?
Okay. All I heard was huge success.
Okay.
That's all I could hear.
But that's a good thing. Huge success. Meg Tilly, huge success.
And I was having a little, really? Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
How do you know?
All right, well,
So I didn't hear your questions.
That's okay. Well, yeah, of course. Well, presently, with the huge success that is Bomb Girls, because it is doing very well, are we going to see you in front of the camera more often again now?
Who knows? I never know. Like I used to think I knew, and now I know I don't know. So I didn't know I was going to be doing Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. I certainly didn't know I was going to do Bomb Girls. And I don't know. Like I don't know if they're going to do more Bomb Girls, then I'll be in front of the camera more. If they aren't going to do more Bomb Girls, maybe I'll do a few more plays. If there's something that comes up that's like really exciting, maybe I would do that. Maybe I just, I've always had this dream of going to France and going to all the Michelin 3-star restaurants and staying in the little town and eating until I get tired of that chef's food and then moving on to the next. I think I'd have to lose 10 pounds before I went off on that adventure. And maybe it's more romantic in my head than it actually is in actuality, because there's huge difficulties in Europe right now. But who knows what's next? I don't know.
But that would be a great book,
there's
though.
a project that I might, if Bomb Girls isn't picked up, that I might get to do. It depends if they're able to get the financing for it. But that would be behind the cameras. So
Oh, nice.
I don't know, but who knows if that's going to happen? And I don't want to jinx it by telling you more about it. But it's like I just don't know. Who knows if I get hit by a car tomorrow? I mean,
No.
Don't put that out there.
But we don't know. I know for sure that I'm going to have my oven baked chicken tonight.
Yeah, you are.
Yes.
Yes,
And I am not.
Much happening between now and then. But I can tell you that, and probably some peppermint jelly beans later.
Oh.
Sit on the sofa and decide to be bad. But other than that, I can't really know.
Fair enough. And we got one last question for you.
Okay.
And how are you enjoying Twitter?
Oh, I'm not sure about Twitter. The jury's out because I don't know how to do it really. I'm trying to pretend like I do, but I don't really know. I'm like I don't quite get it. I don't know what do you do? If somebody you know follows you, are you supposed to follow them, or am I just following? Because I just did it because everybody's like, oh, my husband when the show was going, he's like, oh, the girls are on Twitter. Oh, Adrian and those ones. So I'm like, oh, I'll try Twitter, and I tried to get my name when I heard about Twitter, which was way after everybody else heard about Twitter. And my name was already taken by a bunch of people. So then I was like, okay, well. So I did my gaming name. I sound like I'm a gamer, but the only game I know how to play is Angry Birds. But I kick Angry Birds' butt, and which my husband taught me how to do on when I wasn't going to at all. But yes, so I did the Mega Monster, but I wasn't planning on ever using it. But I thought, well, nobody can take that name. I don't want to, right? And so I already had it hooked up, but I didn't know how to do it. And then a couple weeks ago, I tried it out. I tried my first tweet, which I didn't know if it was going to even appear or not because I didn't know quite how to do it, but it worked. But I'm not sure. I was thinking last week of stopping, but I didn't know how to stop. I'm like, I don't know, do you just erase it all? Do you
No, I
give
think
up
it just
your
stays
name?
there.
Yeah, I think it's there forever.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
So you can't, shut out an account?
Well, I think you could close your account, but I think some of the tweets that you've done would probably still be there, I would think.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
okay. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'm just not sure about it. So, I'm going to give it another week or so and see. But I'm just not sure. Maybe I'm waiting for that cling where it's like, whoa. The first 3 or 4, there was a few that were fun, but then there's a few where I'm like, but I want to say more. Or I don't want to say anything,
Yeah.
but you don't want to be rude. So I'm not sure.
Okay, that's fair enough. I get
Do you
that.
guys like Twitter?
I'm still kind of on the fence. I do like hearing a lot of what the people I follow have to say. I'm not always so comfortable putting my own thoughts out there yet. So yeah.
Yeah.
I love the fact
I'm
that I
not sure what you're
can.
supposed to put out there. Are you supposed to say damn it, my car is covered in bird poo and battery dead, shows how long I haven't driven for? No, probably not. Who wants
Does
to read
anyone
that?
care?
So you start feeling like, oh, and people keep on and then I don't have very many people who have your thing, but then you get bing, somebody's following you, who's that person?
Yeah.
So then you start feeling like, well, they don't want to know that this dog poo, dog poo on my car, bird poo on my car, that somehow a bird has decided my car is the car that it's going to take its daily crap on. They don't need to know that, right? So I don't know what you're supposed to tweet.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I
not sure.
totally there with you on that one.
I do love that I can tweet Meg Tilly and say, I thought you were amazing in last night's episode of Bomb Girls. and then you get that and say thanks. I do like that.
That was very sweet, and I didn't know that you were you until then I put two and two together.
Until today,
But-
yeah, I did that on purpose.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I don't, and then it's kind of sweet because then the other night, a girl who had read at her school when she was in 5th grade, and they were the sweetest, like, gymnasium full of girls ever. And she tweeted, and, we had a few little tweets going back and forth, and it was like, to know that you affected people that you talked to for, 5 years ago or 4 years ago, that it, affected the way they looked at their future and stuff like that. You kind of, that's what you're hoping, but you don't know. You go and you talk to kids and you try to, you try to give life lessons snuck into the talk. You talk to what needs to be said, and yet you don't know. You don't know. It's like kind of messages in the bottle, and it's sort of like, oh, it actually stuck with a lot of them, and that they still talk about it. And, it was very sweet. So then I'm like, oh, that was really cozy. But yeah, so I'm the jury's out. The jury's out. But you'll know the truth. If in a week from now there's no more tweets from Megan stuff.
We'll just go back to the blog.
Whatever, I think because I write, my blog and scripts and books that I have to decide where to put that energy.
Fair enough. Well, we won't keep you from your dinner any longer, but if it has any impact on you at all, Sue and I are going to be talking about this for a long time to come. Because this has been amazing. And it just blew our minds when you even agreed to do it, to be honest with you. We're just like, we're going to take a shot. If she says no, it's okay. But what if she says yes? Meg, thank you very much.
Okay, well, thanks. It's nice talking to you guys.
You too.
Okay,
Okay, bye.
bye-bye.
All right, Eliza, say it again.
The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
Didn't I say that?
No, Eliza, you didn't say that. You didn't even say that. Now, every night before you get into bed, where you used to say your prayers, I want you to say, the rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain 50 times. You get much further with the Lord if you learn not to offend his ears.